Here we go again. War of Attrition, a Conqueror's Blade Artillery Strat Guide made by Ferocity, Part 3. So let's hop into it. So let's recap. So, play a melee hero, think as a ranged hero, has been the ideal uh, through this guide till now. So from Part 1, we said range is for punishing or support. So let's keep that in mind. Charge is superior but difficult. Let's keep that in mind as well. Holding units is for punishing and ensuring time wastes, the attrition battle. All right. Okay, let's keep that in mind as well. From part 2, can't plan on enemy as being stupid. No. Enemies should be respected in this manner. Yeah, that's true. Placing artillery in a smart position to buy time is never bad. Yeah, that's true. Even though it feels bad. Yeah. Placing artillery forces enemies to play in a certain more predictable way. Yeah, that's true. Because if the enemy do something, they will react to it, and you can force them to play in a certain way. So let's look at last video's tactics. So last video tactics was that they counter your ranged units or ranged attacks by stepping to the side. So the artillery has already been used to like force people into a certain scenario. It's not like they're standing middle of the open. The artillery forces them to go to the sides and stay there. So that's something we can predict from the enemy. They won't stand in the middle of the gate. So let's predict that. We also looked on how to overload. We will go more into details of overloading in this video. So yeah, let's hop to it. Okay, I don't remember these. Okay, let's talk about 3 working strategies. Yeah, we should talk about 3 working strategies. Dealing with this problem after we upgraded the situation to look more like a real situation. So what does this situation lack? Yeah. So, yeah. Let's add artillery first, since it is an artillery guide after all. So in this case, I just put it in the middle, just to put it somewhere, and then we'll see what's wrong with it. So this can be both stupid and good. Easily overly weights advantage to the ones who win the siege engine battle. So, and I'm not going to use this example any further, because I'm just going to say why it's stupid or why it can be overly good. So this, when you put artillery here and artillery here, this means you enter a siege engine battle. Like, this will shoot at this and this will shoot at this. So the one who wins this battle will usually just win the entire thing, right? Like, he will have domination of ranged battle in this corridor, which will, yeah, it will just weigh advantage in general to the one who wins the fight. So the natural evolution of a Bow's problem, like, you don't want to do something that's overly stupid. You might sometimes take risk, especially if you planned for 5 people to just place down artillery and just make sure you win the siege engine battle. It can be quite expensive, so I don't think leaders will usually tell people to do that. So the natural evolution of a Bow's problem is, yeah, but yeah. So the natural evolution of this is you put the artillery piece to the side, right? So the artillery piece can't shoot on this artillery piece. So you deny the artillery siege, like the siege engine battle. So, and that is also the reason you put the units on the side, because you deny the range to have any effects on this battle. And it's working. You hunker down, and it's good. But the problem with this situation is that it benefits the defender more than the attacker. So the reason it does that is that there's no really any reason for the defender to walk out in this corridor to get shot by this artillery piece. So this quickly feels like what we said in video 2. It feels quickly very bad to put an artillery piece here, because people they won't probably put their units here, but you have to place it because you want to determine, like, you don't want to encourage them to go into the corridor. So yeah, so I'll do this one because this puts us in an advantage, because you have to enter this corridor, and that means, as an attacker, and that means the artillery piece will shoot on your units, but you can shoot on their units. But can we still beat it? That's the thing. And is the situation complex enough? So we already talked about that the charging is probably the most OP thing in the game. Like, so if you are able to put up the charge properly, you should be able to win this fight, even though they have the benefit of an artillery piece and we don't. So yeah, we already discussed the artillery pieces, so let's add some unknown factors. They're not really unknown because we already discussed what these things do. So we already discussed the musket. The musket forces you to charge. It forces you to act, and it's not really something they want, because as an attacker you want to charge them anyway. So, oh well, they have that good for them. You probably have a guy who stands on this artillery piece as well. Hopefully if he's competent, he's a melee hero. And he will stand on the artillery piece and let the ranged hero do ranged things. So they have maximized the ranged capabilities, and the melee hero will probably go off the artillery piece to fight melee when that happens. I also added like a winged hussars on the side here. So whatever comes out of the gate, if people decide to charge, this charges their charge. And winged hussars charge usually kills everything, but maybe not, because if you play the pavis perfectly, you can disrupt this. Also the Imperial Walk can also disrupt this. Like these guys can actually win over them if you're good, if you're lucky. Also the short sword and the heroes can also focus on the winged hussars and disrupt the charge so it doesn't go off properly. So the winged hussars can only not get stunned out of their charge if they move at full speed. So the start of the charge can still be disrupted, and that means they won't charge. So there's several ways to, like, if you know how to counter winged hussars, there are more than enough units and abilities and things you can do to deal with them. The simplest way is probably to just bait out the winged hussars charge and then just walk down into the tunnel, because they can't charge in like around corners. They have to charge in a straight line. So, well, the unknown factors isn't that unknown anymore. So let's see what we can do. So strategy 1, it doesn't have much to do with artillery, but we still have to think about the artillery. So strategy 1 is hit the vulnerability button and overload one side. So, whoops. So invulnerability button, I mean short sword in this case. Short sword has a button that can click and they just don't take damage anymore. So that's OP. And they have an ultimate that just spreads unit all over the place, which is also pretty good. So if you hit the invulnerability button, okay? The short sword should go first. He hits the invulnerability button, so it doesn't die, which is important because people, like, important factors are people don't die to artillery or ranged heroes. It's important to not get picked off. Like, remember advantage, charging takes skills, but is superior. So we have to keep every charging unit in form so we can get maximum melee damage. And the next critical point to this tactic is people have to follow up. If he goes alone and it doesn't get back up, well, he will probably his invulnerability button will just time out and nothing will happen. So if you ever see a short sword charging in like a crazy man, this is probably the strategy he's going for, strategy 1. And it's most common one. So positive and negative effects of this. Well, I put up some more facts there. Strategy 1, how would this look like? And would winged hussars destroy you? So overloading is all about going to the one side with all the units, melee units you have, trying to overload one side, win it quickly, very fast. And will the winged hussars destroy you? Well, I actually already answered this. You can dodge down, you can use this charge, you can just pass through these units, even though you are having to go through the spears. The invulnerability button is too OP, to be honest. And also you can use the pavis. So they can potentially destroy you, but you can also outplay it. So positive sides with this strategy is it's very effective, it's very direct, it's just bam, 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 go in, go out, you win. And it's very easy to learn with the if you understand the layer of the tactics. Like, it's you go in, overload one side. These guys won't be able to kill you or any of your units, and these don't want to really go outside because they're not really charging units, and these guys will passively stand and shoot there for a while, but after some time they just have to retreat because you will be beating down on everything. So it's all about what you focus, remove these defenders, and then get whatever you can get of high risk, high things that are high risk to you. So charging units are probably the highest risks for you because charging is OP. So negative. Yeah, it can be high risk, high reward if someone who is not a short sword gets headshotted by artillery, etc. So yeah, easy. Okay, let's look at yeah, overloading is not so different from video 2 or part 2. You just put all your units on one side and you win. It's quite simple. It's no different, just a bit more complex. So strategy 2, I call it the over the top strategy. The reason I call it the over the top is because it's a little bit over the top. And you are literally going over the top. So the idea here is you take your heroes, you climb the wall, and you can also go and jump down from the wall with your horse. Like, if you jump on your horse, and when the horse hit the ground, you're able to click Q, which is that discharge, jumping off the horse in a really stylish way attack, which will lead to you flanking. This will lead to a flank with heroes on their unit. So important factors are still the same. People don't die to artillery or ranged heroes, and people have to follow up. So how does following up in this situation look like, and how is people not dying to artillery and ranged heroes? Oh, yeah, it was the next one, but let's keep that in mind. So the way you want, if you're several heroes going up here and are about to jump down, you can actually click the C button to make units follow the hero. So this means that if you're standing here and this is your unit, it will actually, and you click C, it will actually go up like this. Will go through the tunnel, which would look, it would probably look really silly because there's no heroes commanding them. There's nothing. There's just a unit that looks like it's on a suicide run to the side. But it will actually go through here, and it will go, if there's stairs up here as well, it's important that there are stairs. They will route up through the stairs. And if you jump down with that horse jump trick, this will lead to nowhere load. Your heroes will jump down, the units will follow up, and you're actually in the same situation as before. It's not so different from this, just a bit more complex, right? Same situation, just a different way to get there. So why would you do this instead of strategy 1? Well, it's somewhat effective. It's less effective because you have to actually get up on ladders and get up on the wall. So it takes a bit more time because of that. But you dodge the defender's artillery completely. That's the main thing with this strategy. You dodge all the artillery they put down here. They can't shoot you through the gate. So if they absolutely won the artillery fight here, this is still a working strategy, you know. Even they put like 4 ballistas in here, shooting down the range. Doesn't matter. You can just go onto the wall and use this strategy, and the enemy will hopefully look really weirded out at each other because units is just charging through the gate without any leader. So yeah, the defenders, yeah, and yeah, it absolutely have a sense of trickery to it. It's if you're able to do it, very good. Negative, well, it needs extreme coordination. You have to time your jump down onto these units with your units like coming through here, and it's very hard for your teammates to understand that you're actually doing this. So the strategy 1, it's pretty straightforward. There's a guy running through the gate, everyone can see him, and it's very easy to follow up. But in this situation, it's so difficult to follow up. It's so difficult. And ladders are always risky, so there's that too. It's very fun though. It's my favorite strategy in the game. And again, it's not so different from this. Just not a bit. This is a lot more complex, but it's working. So, Mortar 3, Strategy 3, Mortar. Same principle and same important factors. People don't die to artillery or ranged. You know, it's important that people don't die to artillery or ranged. And can the attackers abuse this? That's the question. can we abuse that important factor? And the truth of it is, yes, we can. So I didn't update this picture at all. The situation is the same. Just to verify it, you have the same hussars. It's the same random thing. 2 heroes here. Nothing has changed. So how do you employ the mortar? Well, you're doing this. Your units are here as an attacker. You're standing outside the gate, right? Same as here. You're standing outside the gate. Here's your units. And the enemy is up here, right here. Here they are. And you put down a mortar. What can you do with the mortar? Well, you can shoot above the wall. That's the insane thing. Just pull your mouse all the way back and shoot above the wall. And what was that important factor again? Well, people don't die to artillery or ranged heroes. That's the important. In this situation, you force the enemy to take casualties. There's no way to dodge this, especially if it's trained well. So positive sides, does tons of damage. Well, yeah. Artillery does that. And almost only other artillery is able. Yeah, only artillery is the counter to this. Like, they can put artillery up here, but if you see them put artillery up there's nothing stopping you to just place a mortar shot on top of them. So your artillery piece is already built, you know. And the same, they can also do like the same tactics. They can put a mortar here and then fire back at you. But if you follow your shot, if you shoot and you click the Z button and you see your shot go through, you will actually, if skilled, know where to shoot next time. And you can apply this to everywhere. Like, this tactics work in any situation, even in field battles, if you want to do that. It forces people to charge to you. Like, it breaks formation. Like, people don't want to just stand here and take a beating. So either they have to move their units to supply or charge out. So they're forced to do an action. And again, what was our other like, we're forcing with artillery, we're forcing people to play in a certain way. We're forcing their pattern. And again, this artillery piece forces these guys to do something. And we can predict what they're going to do. Supply point or charge out. So, negative sides. Well, it requires tons of training. Like, getting this arc here to hit enemies back there. Well, you gotta try. You just gotta try. You just have to train. Can take some time to set up if not trained. Like, if you have to use like 3 or 4 shots to line up this shot properly, that's not time spent well, to be honest. People will probably get bored or something for waiting. And if they decide to charge, like, people can start the strategy 1 while you're sitting on the mortar trying to set this up, and then you're doing 2 strategies at once, then you're immediately disorganized. So, and then you will be abused by the enemy ranged, you know? So there's that to look for also. So if you put up artillery to try to do this, the mortar to do this, you always have to check the map to just, are my people, are my teammates trying to set up strategy 1? Okay, I have to follow them. That's more important. So that's another negative side of this. This will also give you bad scores and performances when training this, and yeah, and it will make you suffer, to say it like that. It's a hard skill to learn, but it's very, very, very rewarding. This will make you, of course, very valuable if your teammates are able to wait for this strat to outfold itself. Like, if you see the next picture, mortar, new situation. When you use the mortar and you've been blasting on these units, it just became a simple numbers game, you know? which doesn't even make we don't need to overload, to be honest. We can just charge through the gate. They just don't have these units, and it's a simple victory. Yep, victory is imminent. You just overload. You can overload. Why not? So, summary. Three general working strategies we gone through. So 2 ways to overload: the over the top and the through the gate with the short sword. And artillery can abuse condition that is thought not to be there. So that's another strength for the artillery, which you can't find anywhere else.